true awakening will lead you to the understanding of horrors. And that's what a lot of people don't want to recognize, because they don't want to look at that deep, dark aspect of where human society has gone, where human civilization has gone.
Absolutely.
Real awakening is, I've laid out in a presentation that I call Streetwise Spirituality, 20 points of what I consider true awakening. But real awakening is the understanding that authority is an illusion. Real awakening is the understanding that human beings are enslaved. Real awakening is the understanding of the actual objective difference between right and wrong behavior. Real awakening is knowing what a right is, an action that does not initiate harm to another sentient being, and understanding that if people are condoning actions that initiate harm to other people, including taking their rights away, that's no right at all. That's a wrongdoing, and we should not engage in that behavior or condone it. That's what awakening is all about. And when you see the state of human civilization and culture and society, you should be horrified by what you see, by what people believe and what they do. Not feel all love and light and peace. You should realize what the great work is to do to change, and realize we're nowhere near obtaining that change. We're nowhere near obtaining that goal of human freedom and true enlightenment. And that's what the great work is, the realization that humankind is in a deplorable state, and asking yourself the question, if you do get your own mind and your own heart straightened out and understand what the human condition truly is, what are you going to do to help change it for the better?
Totally. And I love when you bring about the whole realization that the inaction is also a choice, and it also has a consequence. Because a lot of people say, not in my reality, and as long as I'm good, my reality is good, it doesn't matter, and they choose inaction. But that has a consequence as well, because we create the reality together, right? It's an aggregate thing.
Of course, it's not about each individual creating a separate reality for themselves for any type of a selfish purpose, or just to see their own individual goals fulfilled. We are co-creating our shared reality in which we all must live. This whole idea that it's all just infinite possibility for the individual. Okay, it's only true up to a very limited extent. In your own life, you have a certain amount of things that you can control for yourself, that you can create for yourself. But there's always influence from other people. And, what the real goal is to together co-create a better reality for everyone. That's how natural law actually functions. Natural law isn't this cartoonish version of karma whereby you do a bad behavior and you set one foot outside your door and a piano drops from the sky and falls on you. Okay? Natural law is a slow process over the aggregate of humanity, of conditions of the whole earth, of the whole entire environment in which we all live, changing over time, that is, in a way, not ultra perceptible to the individual, but it happens over generations of time, and things get progressively either worse or better depending on the aggregate human behavior. See, karma works over the collective. It doesn't just work over the individual. I'm not saying it doesn't work upon the individual, but largely natural law / karma works over the collective consciousness. It works over the collective or aggregate behaviors of human beings. This is summarized in natural law by what I refer to personally as the law of freedom. The law of freedom is that freedom and morality are directly proportional to each other. It's almost like a mathematical equation of spirituality. The collective or aggregate moral behaviors, when summed up, actually are in direct proportion to the amount of aggregate freedom that is experienced in society. So as morality increases collectively, freedom increases collectively. And as morality declines collectively, freedom declines collectively.
Yeah, I mean, look around what's happening now. It's pretty clear that we have done this ourselves, because our morals have become completely corrupted, and we don't even know what's right and wrong anymore. So how could we create freedom?
Right. I mean, that's the irony and the sad part about all of this, is that we have become so ignorant as a civilization, as a species, that we really collectively do not know the difference between right and wrong anymore. And that sounds strange to people when they first hear it. And even in New Age circles in particular, a lot of people have been told in the New Age movement there is no such thing as right and wrong, which is moral relativism. And that has to be completely shunned and rejected, that notion that there's no such thing as right and wrong. There is absolutely right behavior, there is absolutely wrong behavior, and there is absolutely a difference between them. And what our goal needs to be is to definitively understand the objective difference between right and wrong. And then that's called conscience. That understanding, that knowing of the difference between right and wrong is conscience. That comes from the Latin consciere, which means to know together, okay, to collectively know. Okay.
Yeah.
Once we collectively know, then we need to collectively choose. And as individuals, we choose. And as more individuals do it, the aggregate does it more and more. Okay. So the percentage goes up higher of people that are willfully choosing the difference between right and wrong. And they're willfully choosing right over wrong. Okay. And when we do that as a society, then we're going to see freedom increase. That is just how the natural law of freedom works. Freedom, the state of freedom or enslavement of an entire civilization is governed by law, just like everything else is governed by law. Physical states of matter are governed by law, energy is governed by law, and morality is governed by law. Behavior is governed by law. There's no difference. It's just at one level, it's a physical aspect, and it's able to be seen or measured with scientific instrumentation. And when it comes to morality and behavior, we can't necessarily measure it that way, but it can be measured and observed by the state of freedom or enslavement that we are collectively co-creating as a species. If we look at that end result, we're going to realize how that got created, how it was generated by our behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's happening now is that everyone's complying with the current tyranny. So
Yep.
we know, based on natural law, that that can only create more tyranny. Because whatever that we do today is the causality that will create the future effect. So we know that this is not the way. Compliance will only create more enslavement.
Of course, it's the law of cause and effect. You can't add the same polarity to a dynamic and come out with the opposite polarity. Reality does not work that way, unfortunately. I give the example like it's taking a garden hose and putting the hose, turning it on and pouring the water onto a pile of clothes and saying, I'm going to dry these like this. It's insanity. It cannot work. And people have to understand how those dynamics work according to natural law and then align their behavior to them. And that takes deep commitment. It takes study, it takes personal responsibility, and above all else, it takes willpower. These are dynamics that you don't hear that much in the New Age movement. You hear like, oh, it's love and light, it's just meditate, just be. And those things are important. I'm not saying that they're not. I think that this knowledge ultimately leads to what true love is all about, which is understanding that there should be freedom of expression and freedom of creation for all beings. Okay, and that's not just for the human family, that's for the non-human animals on our planet as well. This idea that we can ignore the negative out of existence is never going to work. We have to acknowledge reality for exactly what it is. And, that's a painful thing. That is what we refer to as shadow work in fields of occultism. And it's something that a lot of people are very loath to do. They don't want to do it because it's painful. And people in the short term want to avoid pain at all costs. And they want to do anything that brings a little bit of comfort or pleasure because they feel that they have enough pain or trauma in their lives already and they've experienced enough of that. They don't want to look at the hard things that are easy to just say, hey, let's shove them under the rug and ignore them, but if you say, hey, let's really drag those out, look at them directly and confront them, that's not an easy process. It's often very painful and even traumatic. And that's why a lot of people don't want to go through that dark night of the soul and do that shadow work. And, the New Age movement sadly misses this dynamic of what our personal work is to do as individuals. And, it's not to say that there isn't good things within it. There are good things. Meditation is something that should be learned and practiced. Absolutely. managing our emotional states is something that should be learned and practiced for sure. Sometimes I need to do a much better job of that because I get very angry at the injustices that I see around me.
I've seen you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's no doubt that those things that you can learn in the New Age movement regarding, the management of those states of consciousness they are valuable. Absolutely. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just have to realize that a good portion of this movement has been co-opted, and it's been co-opted for very sinister reasons. And some of the things that they're telling us not to look at or engage in are some of the most important things that we have to do. Looking at
yeah,
the negative is one of them. Understanding the difference between right and wrong is one of them. Willfully choosing through our free will and through our willpower the right action over wrong action, and really getting involved in doing things in the physical domain to change the state of our reality, and not just wishing it into being, not just having the intention for it to come into being, emotionally and mentally. There's a missing step there, and that's taking action. That's the masculine aspect of our consciousness, is actual willpower and action, and that's kind of left on the back burner in the New Age movement, sadly.
yeah. I've noticed that as well. When I think of the key to how to heal within and heal without, I think of the words attributed to Jesus Christ, which say, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what is within you will destroy you. If you
Right.
do bring forth what is within you, what is within you will save you.
That's
And I
right.
see that in both dynamics. So if you don't bring forth your gifts, you will be
That's right.
enslaved by the burden of never having lived up to your fullest potential. And then again, if you don't bring forth your pain, you can never heal that pain, and you will be enslaved and haunted by that pain for the rest of your life.
Sure.